Hey everybody, XEI here for a July channel update. I'm pretty sure there's quite a few of you wondering where one particular game is at, but I will get to that in a second. Just so that it's clear, things are on schedule still, and hopefully that will make more sense as I get through this update. So the first thing to check off is that The Witcher is officially done. It was done actually maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago, half ago. It was done. I cleared it within, I played 2 weekends during June, and that was basically the first weekend was chapter 4 got completed all in one session, and then chapter 5 got completed all in one session. And that session might have involved me sleeping for like 4 hours between like a Friday into a Saturday or something like that, but for all intents and purposes, 2 sessions, 1 chapter each. The game was done in June. I'm catching up on editing. I've been releasing Witcher daily for most of June. I think Witcher and Pokemon LeafGreen have been daily uploads for the most part for all of June for the last 4 to 5 weeks, because I was trying a new process, and I was trying to limit the games I was playing and just focus on getting the specific primary game out, and it just so happened that LeafGreen got lumped in there, and it also pretty much got daily uploads. So anyways, I was pretty proud about that. I did get through the Safari Zone barely, and those are the ones that are out on the channel now, but yeah, stick through that one, and then things start to ramp up really quickly, and I'll let the episodes speak for themselves and why that happened, and so on and so forth. Probably mid-July I could see maybe getting closer to the end, but I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, my backlog will go for the next week at least, and then I have to I'm not gonna say where I am. I don't want to spoil it. I'm gonna play this weekend, which means, again, I'm not going to talk anymore about this because you guys are going to figure it out. So the next game is obviously Mass Effect 3. Where the hell is it? It should have been July. No, I said 4 to 6 weeks, and we're in about the 5th week at this point. And I do want to get to these novels though. I don't think I'm going to do the novels first and then start Mass Effect 3. I'm going to let Witcher get all uploaded to the channel. Then I'm going to start playing Mass Effect 3. So that's going to start next weekend. These books, I'll probably start getting back into the books this weekend or during the week. So those I'll have a little bit of a backlog on the book series, and then I'll just start releasing those in parallel with me playing the game and trying to upload them as often as I can. I want to go on daily uploads for Mass Effect 3. I'm not entirely sure that's going to kick off right at the start. It's not going to, like, I'm going to need to, because I'll tell you why. I need to rewatch the first 12 episodes that are on the channel. I'm not just going to jump into Mass Effect 3. There's just information I want to get back in my head. It's just an investment I have to make, and it's fine. It's fine. And then I should be back into the headspace by the time I get playing by next week. Might be 4 or 5 episodes a week to start, but my hope is that it's going to get to 6 to 7 uploads a week going forward until the game is obviously done. The last 2 books, I will hopefully be releasing those 2 episodes a week, I'm guessing, unless Pokemon LeafGreen finishes sooner than I suspect, in which case the books will just take over, and I'll try to do I don't know if I can do daily for books, but I would do like every other day. I'll be doing all of the Mass Effect comics as well in that run. I've already done 2 of the comics that are in the omnibus, the first omnibus, but I didn't record them. So, but I have all the notes, and so I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go on those. I just had to stop that because I do want to get back to finishing the 2nd book of Mass Effect before I get into breaking those comics down the same way. Each issue of the comic is essentially one of those patterns, and we can see how the patterns fit with comics. I have done it before with comics. It does work. I'll go through them again live while recording them, just because I need to get a refresher, and as I get that refresher, I'll break down the patterns, and we'll see how it works for comics. And then after the Mass Effect comics, I'm going to get to these Dragon Age novels again. I will be redoing The Stolen Throne again. I think there's like about 3 hours worth of content of me doing fine grain breakdown, but I didn't really have my thoughts together about how I wanted to do a Let's Read series. I think I have a format now that I want to stick to, and I want to bring that to the Dragon Age novels as well. And then after the Dragon Age novels series are done, I will then be jumping to the Dragon Age trade paperbacks, and of course that's all in preparation for Dragon Age Inquisition, which is still more than on schedule. So anywhere between October and December, Inquisition will very likely start. I have no doubt in my mind that Mass Effect 3 will be close to finishing somewhere in September if I go on the daily schedule, if I can stay on that grind. We'll see, because some other stuff might come up, and let's just roll into what that other kind of stuff might be. Had a very well received game 2 years ago, a game that I brought to the channel because I was very excited about this game, No Man's Sky Next, which is being released for the Xbox, as well as a major overhaul or update to the PC version as well. That happens at the end of July. I am definitely getting back into that game. This is a game that in the first 3 weeks I played it like crazy. I recorded maybe 24 episodes worth of Let's Plays. I think the channel stopped at episode 14, but I've never loaded the game since those 3 weeks of play. I got fully absorbed in the game though. I bought the game to be an exploration game, but from an exploration standpoint, yes, there were still some differences here and there with the landscapes, but the animals, like the animal generation, got very boring to me. I did feel like I was seeing the same animal despite them being procedural. It got super boring to me, and I didn't want it to be that. In the first overhaul, supposedly the environments did get better. They did get more diverse, so there's that to experience, but I skipped that. But with this update, it's bringing multiplayer, which is not something I'm interested in anyways, so that's not why I'm going in. But I would love to go in and see a crazier range with the ecosystems. Man, if the planet could just be diverse in and of itself, that would be great. The animals, man, need a massive overhaul by like times 100%. I think that needs a huge overhaul. I know there's base building, but again, I would love to do it, but I'm not really. I love to just be in that visual experience of it. And I know you can build vehicles now, which again, they'd be cool because I could travel around faster. But I need somewhere to travel that's interesting, that I need to go long range for, that requires a rover or whatever. Like, give me a diverse planet that can have me spend 2 or 3 hours just exploring. I'm curious. I'm gonna go back into that game at the end of July. I don't know what that's gonna mean, but you'll get the update in August, I'm sure. And then Dig or Die goes to alpha by mid-July. I just finished the multiplayer. It was a 0.99 by the time we finished the multiplayer, Silent and I. But that is going to go into alpha 1.0. It's going to have some new settings to it, some new environments that you can start the game in. I'm basically going to be retiring the series that I started months ago in the hard setting. I'm going to go to Insanity or Brutal or whatever it's called in Dig or Die. I'm going to go with the hardest mode, and I'm going to try to clear it that way. And then I want to explore the other modes, which is like Sky, just pure Sky, I think, and then pure Underground. And I want to see how the dynamic changes in that game. It's still one of my favorite games ever. It's always going to be on this channel. I never see it going away. I'm always going to have a reason to want to play Dig or Die again. I think this is just the start of this game's growth. I just think there's so much potential. I think if mods come to this game, it's got potential to blow up. So I don't know what that's going to mean. It's not going to compromise anything with the primary series. Mass Effect 3 is going to be on the rails, but that does bring me to Metal Gear Solid. I do want to start Metal Gear Solid as a passive, not even secondary, but like a tertiary playthrough game. But I don't know what that means because of Dig or Die and No Man's Sky. So those ones might slide back in, and so just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind for Metal Gear Solid. Then there's Borderlands 2 multiplayer, which I feel like we're very close to the end. We do 2 sessions a month essentially at about 3-hour sessions. I feel like we're close. So after that one's done, I believe we're going to be doing all the DLCs as well. I think the DLCs are going to stretch into August easily. Just speculation alone on that fantasy DLC. I forget what it's called, but there's one where one of the characters is essentially a game master, and she's running the characters as the players playing their player characters inside her dungeon. Anyways, it's so meta, it's so layered, it's so amazing. I can't wait to play that DLC. Yeah, I just can't wait. I love Borderlands. And in terms of like, you know, how did June go, and where did I have the time for this and that? Was it more optimal? Well, I don't know. I want to show you the reading material. I've in the 4 weeks of June, where I basically just cut Mass Effect 3, like another primary game, out of the schedule, because I have this shelf behind me. This is a very large shelf of books, and I probably, it's about 50% of them now that I haven't had time to read. I buy them because I have to keep up with series, but because of YouTube, my reading has gotten compromised. I just don't have the time to do it, and I've always been trying to get some of that time back, or just create a schedule for myself so I could get reading back in the schedule. Then I want to do books like this, and I want to do a series on that. That's because I'm trying to get back into reading, and if I have a motivation from YouTube, then it gets me to find a way to find time. Now, I didn't want to get into the Mass Effect books I had of schedule. I want to read them raw and then do the series for YouTube as close together as possible, like within the same day. I want to read what I need to read, and I want to record the thing at night or something. And so I wanted to take a break from those, but I did want to get back into just reading comics again and finding a schedule for that. So I'm going to show you just like what this schedule change has done to my reading schedule. This is what I read in the 4 weeks of June. So do I think it was a successful change of patterns for myself? Yes, I do. I do think that you guys might not have been happy that Mass Effect 3 did not get done in June, but I mean, this made me super happy because I have a lot of comics I want to get back into, and I don't need to talk about them all here. I started cutting into I have all of the noir. I have all of the noir books. I've already read 2 of them, I think the X-Men one and Spider-Man. But I ended up reading the second Spider-Man one. I do like the character, it's pretty neat. The Luke Cage one, pretty good book as well. Not short reviews. Punisher was actually an interesting take on the Punisher. I really enjoyed it. I mean, all of them are interesting takes. And then the Daredevil, which I also thought was an interesting take, but not as interesting as the other ones because it felt more typically Daredevil, and I didn't really understand how, like, it didn't explain how he got the powers and stuff like that. But it was Daredevil being Daredevil without, like, usually noir, for those unfamiliar, is like they're not superheroes. Spider-Man noir has like mystical abilities, sort of thing, that give him like web shooters and stuff. But it's very dark and very, like, I don't know. It's just they underplay it, but it is there. And then Luke Cage, I don't want to give it away. Punisher, obviously, he's always been mundane. I don't want to ruin that one either, just in case you read it, but interesting take. But Daredevil, it's like he gets these powers, and you're like, but what? But people usually don't have powers in the noir universe, so that was strange. Talking about strangeness, I'm not a Punisher fan, by the way, but I knew that Rick Remender was on Frankencastle, Punisher Frankencastle, and the first half of this was just, it was my kind of comic. It's the monsters of the Marvel Universe. Punisher gets cut up by Wolverine's kid, Dark Wolverine or whatever, during that era of comics, where it's the Daken cuts him up into pieces, and pieces get collected by the monsters of the sewers. The monsters take the pieces to the Legion of Monsters, and they stitch Frankencastle back together again. I loved the first part of this. It was so wacky and out there, and that's why I don't buy Marvel and DC anymore. I don't feel like they're interesting comics at all, unless it's like noir stuff where it's just they go off the wall and they do something different, or like this where it's literally like you don't have to worry about continuity. And the reason why you do but you don't, they kind of throw it away. But then you get to the last half and it's like, oh great, here we go with the regurgitated storylines. Oh look, there's Wolverine again doing his thing and cutting up, and then screw it, I don't care anymore. It's like that. Anyways, and I got Legion of Doom because I wanted to get the take on like where are the Legion of Monsters in the Marvel Universe. You can kind of get my taste at this point, right? Alright, and then I got through interesting series. If people haven't read this one, by all means, it's the Scarlet Spider series by Christopher Yost. He's one of my favorite writers, and he's one of those guys that's like a writer that is not given as much credit as he should get. I think Christopher Yost is one of the best writers out there. He's got solid plot techniques. It's just a clean story. I mean, it's hard to even explain this because it's like it's a clone of a clone of the Clone Saga. It's hard to explain, but the concept of the character is Spider-Man in Austin, Texas, essentially. And I love the idea of it. I love the idea of it because Spider-Man himself has too much continuity for me to want to get into. But I generally love the aspects of the Spider-Man universe. 4 Venom trades, starting with Remender's run on it with Agent Venom, where Flash Thompson gets the suit. He loses his legs in the war, and then he uses the Venom symbiote to basically get his legs back, but he has it for a limited amount of time. It's an amazing premise. I loved it when it gets introduced by Remender. It sort of becomes less important when Remender leaves the title, Remender and more. But when Cullen Bunn takes over the title, I'm not gonna, like, I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed it. Like, they bring in the Son of Satan and they start talking about some weird apocalyptic vision thing that could happen, and then the series sort of gets canceled, and you never really get closure. And that's also why I don't buy comics from the big two. I would love to buy, like, I love the characters in Marvel, but they do this crap all the time, and you disconnect, and you're like, well, then why? I don't care. Like, these are complete stories. I love the characters until you realize I've just spent all this money and I didn't get a complete story off of it. Anyways, I talked a lot more about the comics than I anticipated, but this is another, I'll be honest, I'll just say it here. I mean, this is another channel I would start. I would start a channel where I go more into depth with just comics that aren't gaming related comics, but I need to find a pattern. And obviously you guys have heard about my dog, so none of this is going to happen while Mogwai is still with me, but I'm trying to lean things out because I want to expand the things I talk about on YouTube. And I don't want to do it all on one channel, but as you can see, I'm a pretty big fan of comics, and I can talk about them pretty easily, and I would love to do something with comics one day. That's it. So I'm trying to get my fill in with the Mass Effect comics and the Dragon Age comics for this channel, just to see how it fits. And then maybe a year from now, a year and a half from now, I don't know. Anyways, that's it. That's the update. I will catch you around. Don't forget to explore, engage, and inspire, buddy. Peace.